I've been in the fitness and wellness industry for over 12 years. I've watched a lot of people hold themselves back by making the same mistakes. So today, I'm saving you time. Stop these 5 habits and unlock your full potential. This first mistake might upset a lot of influencers out there, but number 1, majoring in the minors. Obsessing over supplements, powders, cold plunges, wearables, and hacks, while ignoring sleep, strength training, hydration, protein, walking, and stress management. People want a 1% edge before they're mastering the 99%. Until you have a regular and intentional movement practice, you have no business obsessing over the elaborate TikToks that are analyzing red light therapy or sauna use. Babe, the basics. We're not majoring in the minors. We're focusing on what is proven to work and then accessorizing on top. Number 2, waiting to feel ready. People think confidence comes first. They think motivation comes first, or that certainty comes first. Action comes first. And sometimes the action is tiny. In fact, I'd rather see tiny, repeatable actions consistently than major sea changes. This might be a hot take. I'm in favor of signing up for the race. Just sign up. You never done a race before? Sign up and figure out the training plan afterwards. That is a classic example. It's like you're propping up the goal. You've established a finish line, and then you are filling in with the details after that. You're not waiting for this illusory moment of overwhelming motivation. Most of the times when I go to the gym, I don't feel like it, but it is my routine. It is my identity. It is in my schedule. I keep the promises that I make to myself, but I'm not waiting for motivation to show up. Certainty is certainly not going to show up in the convenient times. In fact, I think most change is massively inconvenient. So don't expect to feel ready. Don't expect it to feel convenient. Number 3, confusing intensity with effectiveness. You do not need to be thrashed on the floor for a workout to be meaningful. A workout doesn't need to be 60 minutes to be effective. In fact, a workout doesn't need to leave you sore to be effective. I have had to unpack this in my own life, and I think the most instructive periods of my life that countered this myth was when I was postpartum. And I was kind of building myself back into the athlete that many people see today. But I had to get myself out of this mindset that a workout needed to be a certain intensity or a certain length in order to, quote, count. The goal isn't to destroy yourself, it's to build yourself. We're keeping the hard days hard and the easy days easy, and we're moving with intention. Yes, some workouts are going to leave you thrashed, but not every workout should leave you that way. Number 4, underfueling and calling it discipline. This one upsets me, and I know this is a hot button issue, and I know that this is super personal for folks, but skipping meals, being afraid of carbs, running solely on caffeine, doing really extreme periods where you're not eating and calling it intermittent fasting, trying to earn food or earn rest through exercise. You cannot starve your way into strength. You need to fuel for the body that you want. And actually, when I started counting my macros, I realized that even though I felt full, and I thought I was eating really intentionally, in some ways I was underfueling. I was under in my protein in some circumstances and even under in my carbs for the output that I had in a given day. So just give your body love, fuel for the movement that you're asking it to do. Number 5, outsourcing self-trust. Looking to every influencer, expert, trend, or algorithm for answers. Knowing what everyone else is doing, but having no idea what your own body is telling you. I think this is super important in a day where we're optimizing everything. We have a data point for everything. We look at an app to tell us how we slept without even asking ourselves, how do you feel? Like, how are you feeling right now? Without a sleep score. I actually have a habit now of not checking any of my daily metrics and stats until after my morning workout, because I tell a different story to myself with that data, whether it's good, bad, neutral, or otherwise. So Just a little tidbit of information. Maybe you just put pause on all the metrics until after you've had a little bit of routine in your day and you're feeling a little bit more like yourself. Information is everywhere. What a blessing to be able to live right now and learn anything in the human canon of thought. But wisdom is also learning to trust yourself. That includes for this very podcast. You shouldn't take anything from Project Swagger and implement it without asking yourself, does this really work for me? Does it work for my life stage? I find that I even get myself caught up in looking at podcasts or social media, and I'll look at advice for something that is probably relevant in some way, shape, or form, but I always need to couch it in, I have 2 kids. I live in New York City. These are boundaries and aspects of my life that I need to make work and make sense. All right, now it's time for your questions.
Hi, Robin. My name is Michelle from Chicago, and I am turning 50 this year. I do weights about 4 to 5 times a week, and I'm ready to go a little heavier than, say, 25-pound dumbbells. But 30 pounds seems like such a big jump, and I'm really unable to do more than like maybe 1 rep and sometimes 0 reps. So what do you do in that case?
Okay, the answer is super clear. If you can do 0 or 1 rep of something with a certain weight, it's just too heavy. There are scenarios where you're going to be testing your 1 repetition max, and that is the only scenario where you would literally only do 1, and your 1 repetition max is something that you would do very sparingly. And for the main lifts, it's after you've learned, really how to squat heavily with a squat, deadlift, and press, pull with heavy load. Heavy means that the last 1 or 2 reps is challenging, and the progression of weight is not going to look like a hockey stick. In the beginning, you might see, oh wow, like every week, every other week, I can add 5 pounds, but that's not something that can continue forever. Once you're getting to that, call it top 10% of your capabilities, it's not necessarily going to be adding load. That is one variable you can change, but another one might be confidence with a weight, form, the speed of with which you're moving that load, right? So let's use a squat as an example. If, using a certain weight, you got to the 5th rep of something and it used to be a grind, maybe get to the point where that 5th rep feels pretty smooth. And then you add a 6th rep, and then you add a 7th. I don't think you're necessarily always adding weight and always adding reps. It really depends on the context of the program and your goals. But just remember that adding weight isn't necessarily the only variable. I'll use an example. My strict press is one of the movements where I just start to hit a ceiling. And so now I feel like I'm kind of in between weights. I can do maybe 3 or 4 reps with a certain weight, but when a workout requires 6, 7, 8 reps or 10 reps of something, I can't really do it. So what I'll try for myself is that I'll do like the first 2 sets on a weight that I know I can hit 8 to 10 reps. And then the 3rd set, even knowing I'm probably not going to be anywhere near those 8 to 10 reps, I hit a super intentional clean 3 or 4, maybe 5. And then the progression in that workout example looks like, all right, I'm going to try to hit 3 clean reps this week with this weight that I'm aspiring to. And then maybe the next week, it's 3 reps that feel a little smoother. And then maybe the week after that, it's 4 reps, right? So like, just think about it like that. It really is like a game of inches. If you're picking up something that you can't move for literally a rep, it's just too heavy, and that's okay. All right. Thank you for your calls. As always, you can leave me a voicemail at 1-877-ALL-SWAG. Let's keep this hotline alive. It is my greatest privilege to be able to say that I have a hotline, 1-877-ALL-SWAG. Call me anytime with any kind of question. But I do have a request. I want to hear about your wellness and fitness routines. We can talk about it. I can give my expert POV. I want you to tell me your goal, though, and then tell me something specific that you're working on. Maybe you're resetting your weekly split. Maybe you're trying to assess your strength training routine. Maybe you're training for a marathon. Let's dive into the details. I will let you know what I think and give you some personalized tips to reserve your time on the hotline. Call 1-877-ALL-SWAG and give me all the tea. Talk to you soon. All right, let's cut through the noise. Cold plunges. My hot take? They are great for mental toughness. I do think that they're overrated for actual results. I think before a training session, before a lifting session, it's just as effective to take a super cold shower, get that dopamine going, get that adrenaline pumping. Studies show for women, actually, a lot of the cold plunges don't need to be as cold to be effective. I believe it's 55 degrees. Don't quote me. I'll have to look at my research on that. But I love contrast therapy. I love a sauna moment into a cold plunge moment. And I know that there are entire cultures where this is, so you grow up doing this. But I think the way we're looking at it, at least through an American lens, can be very much like optimization bro culture. And I think that as long as we're doing it intentionally and not just to make a TikTok out of it, and it's not a magic bullet, then it has its place in our wellness menu. All right, y'all. Thank you for joining this week's Project Swagger. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.